I'm fascinated by the time you spent in North Vietnam. What surprised you the most?
Well, pretty much everything surprised us because we didn't know what to expect. And that was sort of the terror of the project and also the great joy of discovery because, as Ken was saying, everything was a discovery, everything, including the aspects of understanding what it was like for the Vietnamese. But I think it was understanding several things. One, it's a vibrant country. You look around, it doesn't feel like a communist country because there's capitalism everywhere. So it's a little bit of a disconnect to try to understand, well, what happened here? And there's not much sign of the war. It's like they have moved on. They are looking forward. There's a lot of energy and sort of optimism and just resilience. But if you scratch the surface, every single person I spoke to in Vietnam knows someone who died in the war. Everyone. Because they had a country of 30 million people and they lost a total of 3 million. That's 1 in 10. So for Americans, you know, our 58,000 names on the wall are hard for us to get our arms around, and that's a tragedy for every single family, and we can never forget that. But for the Vietnamese, it's every family lost somebody. Just the scale of loss and the kind of nature of their tragedy was hard to absorb.
And I think also a repressive regime, still to this day, which has that kind of singular narrative of the triumph of the collective people, does not in any way promote the individual commentary that we were able to get there. And a couple of people sound like they're out of central casting, talking about the glorious struggle and all that sort of stuff. But most people sound exactly like our Army and Marine guys in terms of the intimacy of this horrific combat that took place in this war. And so you can see right there these kind of portals and possibilities of exchange of DNA between us, the DNA of memory. And so, you know, as a Vietnamese American writer said, that wars are fought twice, once on the battlefield and once in memory. We're not having a war here. We're sort of trying to get and collect enough experience. And what's so interesting is to hear these voices, sometimes telling things that the state itself has not yet admitted to, bad things that they did too, where, you know, both sides of this war are not free of atrocity or insanely bad things that human beings do to each other. But to hear it from a foot soldier a couple of times over, worried a little bit about who might hear this, and at the same time willing at the end of his life to say, you know what, it's important to say this. This is what happened. And so we were animated by one question: what happened? It's in the opening talking head of our film. A Marine says, what happened? What happened? And we took that, and for the next 17 hours and 50 minutes, ran with it.